All right. Welcome to this episode of the Peaking Podcast. We have Nora Shiels with us today. She is the founder of Bridal Bliss and the co-founder of Rock Paper Coin. Very excited to have you, Nora, on the show. I think our listeners are really going to enjoy your story and the learnings that you can have from someone who is a businesswoman and who's seen success and gone through it. So we'd love to hear an introduction from you and learn a little about you.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to chat today. Let's see. I have worked in the wedding industry for quite a long time now. I actually first fell in love with the wedding industry as a little girl. My parents were or are Iraqi immigrants, and they moved to Portland. My mom didn't speak a word of English or know anybody, and she learned over the years, and she was a very talented seamstress. And so she would
Awesome.
do alterations out of our house when I was a little kid. And she really had a knack for wedding dresses, and word got around, and all of these brides would come in and have their dress on, and she'd pin and tuck, and they would leave looking perfect. And so I got to always peek and kind of watch, and there were wedding magazines around and pattern books and things like that. And there was just always something about weddings that were so special to me. So fast forward a couple years, I worked in a couple different facets of the industry, like catering and flowers. And my mom ended up having a bridal shop after many years, and so worked there.
Very
And
cool.
I went to school at Gonzaga University in Spokane. And my senior year, there was a business plan competition. So I, on a whim, entered and ended up winning. And the great part about that was if you actually started the business that you pitched, they would double your winnings. So I'm like, I'm 22. I literally have nothing to lose. I'm just going to live at home with my parents for a couple years, have very little expenses. And so I just kind of dove in and tried it and started this wedding planning company that I had presented. And, one thing led to another. I got my first clients. They had guests at their wedding that hired me, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And that was back in 2002, and it was just me at the time. And the company is still up and running today. And we are based in Portland, but we also have a team in Seattle and the Bend area and plan around 100 to 120 events per year.
Wow.
And it's kind of a well-oiled machine at this point. Yeah, it's a really fun job. Of course, it has its moments, but it's brought me a lot of joy over the years. But fast forward to what year was it? 2019, I think, 2018. One of my planners at Bridal Bliss was also my sister-in-law, or she was a planner at the time. She met my husband's brother, and now we're related. We were just kind of commiserating over cocktails about how wedding planning had started to feel like babysitting and constantly reminding our clients to sign their contracts, make their payments, and just like basic things that we were really having to micromanage. So we set out to find software that could really help streamline our company and our planning process. And we tried literally everything on the market, whether it was event focused or not. And it was either too expensive, it was either ugly, which doesn't work for the wedding
Yeah.
industry. Our clients didn't like them, our planners didn't like them. And at this point, we had about 30 employees. So we needed to keep them happy as well.
Hmm.
And nothing worked. So we set out to create our own, which initially was just supposed to be for us in-house to use. And we met with developers and quickly realized it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we kind of were like, okay, let's just pump the brakes a little bit and think about this. So we just kept talking to different planners throughout the country and different vendors and asking, what do you use for your software? And everybody hated what they were using. So they were like, if you find this unicorn that you're talking about, let us know and we'll definitely switch. And so a light kind of went off and we started research and development. We launched about a year later and we still have Rock Paper Coin today. So it's been
Yeah.
about 6 years and we're a platform that was designed specifically for the wedding and event industry, but truly anyone that accepts payments virtually can use it and find value in it.
Yeah. Really cool. Now, when you were trying out different platforms, were you just demoing them, or were you actually paying subscriptions, buying seats, and going down the path of trying to implement into your organization for a period of time? What was that like?
A combination of the two.
Okay.
We tried out probably three different ones where we actually got set up and integrated,
Yeah.
trained our team, and gave it a solid like 6 months and decided it wasn't right for us.
Yeah.
Some of them were just so expensive that it didn't even make sense for us to integrate it for a small business. They were really built for, these companies that had hundreds of employees and really
Sure.
needed way more functionality than we did. What we needed was really pretty basic.
Yeah.
There just wasn't anything out there. And I've,
Yeah.
I've learned now after being in software that you have to take advantage of a demo and customer service and that's out there today is they want you to succeed. So
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that
Exactly.
likes to figure things out myself and not necessarily go that route. And so, now if I'm ever looking for software, I instantly go to the
Yeah.
demo.
Yeah. Yeah, I've experienced the same thing, and I've used and paid for multiple products, and currently using products right now that are very expensive, and also a lot of frustrations with them, and finding other cheaper products that seem to fit my business
Yeah.
model better, but it's really tough to do. When you were using these other products, were they specific to just a broad CRM experience, or was it more so? Was it specialized to wedding planning or event planning, or?
Yeah, both. There was one that's made for wedding planners,
Yeah.
and there were a couple other. One was made for small businesses, and one was just a general CRM.
Yeah.
The problem with the wedding planner one, the functionality was good, like it worked good enough, but we were such a large company that did more events than your typical planner would do, and you
Yeah.
had to pay per event.
Yeah.
So the monthly fee was so insane for us. Whereas if you were just doing, 15, 20 events per year, it would have made a little more sense, but it didn't fix enough of our problems to make it worth it.
Yeah, makes sense. I think a lot of the listeners for Peaking are entrepreneurs, business people in general, and a lot of them have these ideas that I've talked to them about, where there's a specific problem that they would love to solve, and the software solutions out there aren't specific enough to them. It's not within their process, and I'm curious. How was it jumping into that space, coming from a bridal background and not necessarily a software background? Talk to us about maybe some of your apprehension and the moment when you decided, you know what, I'm going to do this.
It it was definitely challenging. That's a very mild word to use it with because neither myself nor Elizabeth, my co-founder, had any technical background. We had the know-how in the wedding industry. We were considered industry experts by then. We knew what we wanted it to do, so we just had to translate that to a developer. And we ended up hiring a development team. We met with a couple different groups. This one had come recommended. And what we really liked about them is they spoke like plain English to us and not all these technical terms, because when we first started, we had no education or background in this. And so we're talking with these developers that are just spouting out these acronyms that, we're nodding and smiling and just writing down everything that we need to
Yeah.
Google afterwards to know what the heck we're talking about. But
Yeah.
we got really lucky with the group that we hired because they could have completely pulled the wool over our eyes and we would have had no idea until it was too late. So we
Yeah.
got a good group behind us, some of which still work for us to this day, which has been really cool.
Really cool.
But it's been a huge, huge learning process. But we already knew how to sell to the wedding industry. We knew the trials and tribulations of a company in the wedding industry, and we knew what problems we needed to fix. So we kind of had one piece of it, but the development piece we had to definitely bring help on.
Yeah. Now, did you have, a product template in mind? Did you have any type of user experience in mind, or did you simply go with an idea and vet it out during that development process? How did you start actually putting pen to paper?
We literally put pen to paper and
Yeah.
drew out the different screens and
Okay.
explained the functionality. So we definitely knew what we wanted it to do and look like and how to function. And so we still have it, this like stack of
So cool.
screens that we shared with our developers. And then we actually went in at early on and we wrote all of the stories for our developers. So it was like, you click this button and it does this. And you have to get so granular with it that, if you click this button, you get a menu of A, B, and C. And, it was, we did not enjoy that piece,
I
but
bet.
we
Yeah.
did everything at the beginning, just the two of us.
Yeah. And so when you were at that moment of picking out the team, how long did it take you to get your initial MVP to market?
It took about a full year.
Hmm.
We ended up hiring this development team. They were front end and back end. And about probably 9 months in, the company dissolved. So we ended up
Wow.
hiring a couple of their developers in-house as employees to finish the MVP.
Yeah.
And then we tested it for a while. Obviously, Bridal Bliss, the planning company, was the first customer, and we found a lot of bugs and just kind of tweaked the user experience and got a lot of feedback. And then we put it out to a beta group that tested us out for a while. So it was about a full year, maybe a year and 3 months before we kind of set it loose out into the wild to see
Yeah.
what happened. And there's this one big conference that happens every year for the wedding industry. It's in November. And so we launched at that conference.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, talk a little bit about that go-to-market strategy and plan and the journey there.
Yeah, so our go-to-market strategy really revolved around wedding planners.
Hmm.
And the reason being was that a planner is one of the first people that a couple is going to hire when they're engaged. So we wanted to get them on board. And a planner really dictates who's going to get hired for this event.
Hmm.
So a planner can say to all of their vendors, our team is on rock, paper, coin. Our clients are booking all of their vendors on rock, paper, coin. So if you want our referrals, you need to hop on here. Here's a code for a free membership. And then the goal was that they bring on their vendor teams and then it kind of snowballs that way.
Yeah.
So, and that happened not as much as we would have liked it to,
Hmm.
but what we have found works very well with the wedding industry is really getting quote unquote influencers on board. So
Okay.
it's more social proof. You have people that are talking about the platform that actually use it, that are saying positive things. And it's these trusted wedding professionals, whether you know them or you just, have them on a pedestal, you trust what they're going to say. So we have a lot
Sure.
of partners. We have a lot of people that will give them a code and they'll promote us. So we have a really great, robust affiliate program. And I'd say between the partnerships and the affiliate programs, we get quite a few new members from that.
Nice. Are you using any tools to help with your affiliate programs?
We are. I don't run that, so I don't
Okay.
remember the
All
name of
good.
the platform, but we do
All
have
good.
one that tracks
Yeah.
everything and makes it easy to get a link. And they can also log in and just kind of see who's used their code or anything like that.
Yeah. Now, how long in the process were you until you were able to say, "Oh, we should do this"? Did you know that from the beginning, or was that something you had to figure out
Um,
through time? Or
I would say after we had so many people saying, when you find this platform, let
yeah,
us know what it is. And there was so much interest in it throughout the country
hmm,
that we're like, let's do it. And at that point, it
yeah,
was like, let's do it, but this is going to be our side hustle while we're planning weddings and
right,
and
yeah,
all of that. So
yeah,
it's certainly snowballed into a much bigger business than we had ever hoped or
yeah,
expected.
hmm.
Um, and I still own the wedding planning company. I plan maybe one or two events a year if somebody
Oh,
begs
I love
me
that. I love
to,
that.
um, for a couple of reasons. First of all, I love it. It brings me a lot of joy, but
Yeah,
also I get to test out our platform as an actual user
right.
as I'm planning a wedding. So I'm like the resident bug finder for us.
Mhm.
But also as I'm pitching to partners or potential new members, I like authentically understand what they're going through and what
Yeah.
their struggles are. I can relate to them. I can share my experience. And
Mhm.
that really just builds a lot of trust.
Yeah. How many people do you have on the platform currently?
Oh my gosh, maybe 15,000,
Wow.
maybe.
Yeah. And so that includes vendors as well as planners and
Mm-hmm.
everything in between.
Yep. So I would guess we have about 50% planners on the platform, and then it's just a random mix of different wedding or event vendors. But we also have like bookkeepers, we have designers, we have all
Okay.
kinds of different types of vendors outside of the wedding industry, many
Yeah.
of whom use the platform to pay for a service and
Hmm.
enjoyed the experience and then onboarded themselves as a company. So we
Yes.
haven't marketed outside of the industry at all.
Okay.
It just has kind of been
Organic.
organic. Yeah.
So give a couple examples that if people hear, they can go check this out that are outside of the wedding industry, what types
Yeah.
of, yeah,
If you
businesses are
send
using it.
out invoices and you want somebody to pay you, whether some people use QuickBooks right now, some people use Square, you
Yeah.
want to send a link, you want someone to pay quickly, that's the easiest type of new member for us. But we also do contracts, proposals, we have automations. It's just a really easy to use platform. It's very streamlined, very intuitive.
Hmm.
We always say we want to make it easy for our parents to use if they ever have to come on, and so
Yep.
that's kind of the goal. And we don't have a lot of the functionality that you find on a really intense CRM. And we
Hmm.
found that most small businesses don't need that kind of functionality, and it muddies the water and they end up signing up and not using it. So you get what you pay for. Our fees are incredibly low. Our processing fees are incredibly low. And something that we offer that a lot of other CRMs don't is the ability to pass fees along to your client. So if you're a company, you want to accept credit cards, but you don't want to pay that processing fee, you can put it on your client. So if they want to use their credit card, no problem. There's just going to be this additional fee. If not, just pay by ACH and it's totally free for you to use it.
Okay. Love it. So being a successful business owner, multiple business owner, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to others who are looking to start a business or who are in the middle of running a business in the early days and that you've learned along the way?
Oh, I've learned so many lessons, mostly by making mistakes
Yeah.
myself. And that I think that's a lesson is that you are going to make mistakes. Every person makes mistakes, some big, some small, but you need to turn those into learning experiences just to better your processes and your company as you move forward. So, I've made big mistakes in my life that have caused some big problems. And, financially, or maybe I screwed up on a wedding, or I can't think of a good example right now, um but every time you have to take that back and use it as knowledge to fix things and make them better moving forward.
Yeah.
um Ideally you haven't ruined someone's wedding or something that you can't fix in the
Yeah.
background, but nobody's perfect. So you have to give yourself some grace. I
Yeah.
also think starting a business, you have to go in knowing it's going to be a struggle. It's not easy. It's not something just everybody can do because otherwise everybody would do it. But all that hard work pays off. I always knew that I wanted to work for myself. I always wanted to have a family and a flexible schedule where, I can pick up my kids from school. That's a priority for me, but that probably means I'm going to work late or make up for it in other ways, which is something that I'm happy to do to be able to, spend more time with my kids, maybe squeeze in some golf, do other things that I love to
Yes.
do, and I'll get my job done. It just might be at odd hours.
Yeah.
So that flexibility is really important to me, and not having to necessarily answer to somebody else was kind of a priority.
Yeah, totally. Well, talk more about that. I mean, you're obviously balancing so much. How do you balance? How do you prioritize your day? What's most important?
I'm pretty regimented. I have a schedule. I like to time block. So for Bridal Bliss, it kind of runs itself at this point. I have a really wonderful team in place and management that runs the day to day. So I don't have to be as involved there. It's more at a high level or if I'm dealing with any of my own weddings. So that I simply time block there. And then for Rock, Paper, Coin, it's honestly different every day. Sometimes I'm dealing with a member issue. Sometimes I'm pitching to new potential partners. Sometimes we're presenting to our investors or recording podcasts. So,
Yes.
and I actually really love that about my job, where it's always something different. It's not just like the same slug every time. So time blocking has helped me a lot, especially I would really struggle when I'd have back to back meetings, typically Zooms, and then have to run out and go to baseball or something.
Yeah.
So I like to schedule time in between meetings just to send out what I promised somebody I was going to send them, get my notes all in order, and then move on to the next thing. Otherwise, I found that's what would keep me up late at night, is just trying to like get through all of that. So yeah, it's all
Yeah.
in my head. It's always like when I'm falling asleep or when I'm in the shower or something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I never emailed that guy back.
And then you're up the rest of the night thinking about it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find that works for me. And,
Mhm.
like I said, I have two young kids, so I have help with my family, my husband. We both have flexible schedules, which is really nice, but they come first to me. If
Yeah.
there's a member problem or my kids need a ride, it's going to be my kids every time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a core value of both companies. We have a lot of parents at Rock, Paper, Coin, and we just give each other grace. We're kind of all in it together. And if someone has to run off to take their kid to a doctor, we're going to pitch in and help out as needed. So we're pretty flexible on that, and maternity, paternity leave, and PTO, things like that.
Yeah. So touching on culture and environment, what type of culture did you want to build and what have you created and why is that important?
So the culture that we built has been interesting because at Rock, Paper, Coin, it's really a mix of personalities, whereas at Bridal Bliss, it's all women, all go-getters, all creatives. So it's kind of like a sisterhood there.
Okay.
Whereas at Rock, Paper, Coin, we have our sales people, we have customer success, and then we have developers. And those personalities are very different.
Yeah.
But we have such a great just such a great experience together. Whereas we don't interact all the time. We have a monthly all hands meeting where we all really get to see each other, but the development team doesn't interact with the other teams as much. And we found that everybody was kind of craving more interaction, which
Okay.
is kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, sometimes we'll include developers in demos so they can hear what potential members are saying and have an understanding when they go back to their team, things like that.
Yeah.
But our team members have been with us for quite a while. We still have the first developer that wrote our first line of
Very cool.
code is still with us. Our first salesperson that we hired is now our director of operations. She was actually our first hire. And Elizabeth and I always say if we were to just disappear one day, she would absolutely run the company for us, and we would have full faith in her.
Very cool.
And the rest of our team, they've been with us for quite a while through ups and downs, through rounds of funding, through times when we had to downsize quite a bit. They took cuts in pay for a while when we
Oh,
needed
wow.
them to, and they stuck around, which is kind of
So cool.
mind blowing to me because
Yeah.
that really
They believed in it.
really exactly they really had faith in us and the product, and so that meant a lot. And we're in our best month we've ever had. We have a record quarter, so thankfully we're
Congrats.
able to take care of them a little more and make it
Yeah.
all worth it.
Right on. You've talked about funding a couple times. Talk to us about the funding journey from the beginning. Is that something you had to seek to build this?
Yeah, it's a journey is a good way to put it. We started out, so we bootstrapped for a while, and then I was just chatting with a client of mine that I planned all of her events and was telling her about it, and she was like, "Well, I want to invest." And so we're like, "Okay." So we met with her. You should see the deck that we put together and presented to her. It's pretty embarrassing. But she
Why?
invested. Oh, it's just, like we didn't even know what you're supposed to include in a funding deck. It just was it was pretty.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what mattered. So we presented to her. She was our third co-founder, and we were really able to kind of get started with development with her. And then the same thing happened when we were starting to run out of money again with another client that we had planned his wedding. And he was like, this process is so brutal. There has to be another way. And we're like, well, we're working on that. And so
Yes.
he invested. And then from there, so it was just 2 private offices. And then from there, our next round, we took on some VC funds, and some other local groups came in, and we did a safe note with them. And then
What's a safe note for listeners?
oh my gosh, you're going to quiz me on this. I can't
Sorry.
even remember. There have been so many different things that we've gone back and forth
We
on.
can go on. That's fine.
Go on. But
Yeah.
it turns into, it's shares that they own in the company, and it converts after a certain amount of time.
Got it.
Someone's
Awesome.
going to listen to this and laugh.
That's okay. That is okay. So what stage are you in? Are you considered in a Series A, or what round of funding are you considered in right now?
So we are thinking about starting our Series A right now.
Okay.
That's kind of where we're at. We're kind of at a crossroads. Like, do we want to raise another round, or do we want to just kind of ride out where we are right now? It's honestly not the best time for funding.
Yeah.
And it seems like all the AI companies are getting the funding right now. So
Sure.
I'm not sure if we want to touch that yet, but that's kind of where we're sitting right now.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to go this direction, but do you see AI in your product at all? Is that something you've talked about from a roadmap perspective?
Yeah, definitely. And we use it a little bit more through other platforms and APIs that we have utilized in the platform. We haven't built anything using, AI specifically.
Yeah.
So yes, well, I mean, I think the whole world needs to incorporate it at one time or another. So we do have some functionality that we're looking into adding using AI that can be a tool for our members to use as part of the platform.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's exciting times. I do work with a lot of different AI companies, and I just, in my mind, we'll could talk about this on another time, maybe over coffee, but just ideas around how other companies are using it, and
It's pretty mind-boggling.
yeah, absolutely, very cool. What else here? So, I guess just a couple more questions. Are there any tools that you're using that you would recommend to small business owners that have really helped you with day-to-day operations, organization, just things that you're like, I want to shout this out to the listeners.
Totally. Well, ChatGPT, I use
Okay.
multiple times per day
Yep.
in a variety of different ways. So I love using that. I use it, this seems super basic, but it saved me a bunch of time, just a calendar scheduling tool. So, if we want to set up a time to talk, I'm not going to email you and say, hey, are you free Wednesday at 4? And you
Yeah.
respond and say, I'm not. How about Thursday at 5? I'm not. And there's this whole annoying back and forth. So tools like Calendly or Cloud HQ are really easy tools where
Hmm.
your calendars, I have a couple calendars that I have embedded in the software. So if you want to meet, I'm like, great, here, click this link and choose a convenient time. And then all the times that I am available show up and you just pick a time. It confirms. It also reminds you the day before your meeting. So it's just one less thing to do. So very easy to set up, very easy to use. It sounds so simple and basic, but the amount of time it saved is something.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. That's awesome.
I'm trying to think what other tools. And we have so many different software platforms. We're pretty G Suite focused. So Google Drive, Google Sheets, there's a
Yeah.
lot of automations there that our team uses just for sharing and documents and tracking feedback and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had that same conversation with my business partner about where Microsoft shop, and he was giving
Okay.
me crap for it because it's not the cool thing to be using if you're in a startup space. And I'm like, I don't know.
It works.
It works.
It works.
I'm old
We
school. I don't
use
know.
Slack for
Okay.
communication, which is it's a great tool. We actually use it for both companies. I liked it so much at Rock Paper Coin that I implemented it at Bridal Bliss. But again, easy to use. There's an app if you're on the go. So we use that a lot.
Yeah. I think one last question that I was thinking about, that's something I personally struggle with. I'm curious if you do. I'm going to make an assumption that maybe this has happened to you along the way, but that imposter syndrome, right? When you're in your early 20s and you're starting a bridal company, I have to imagine that's, there's that thought process. And then, starting a software company and not coming from a software background, same thing. I imagine you've struggled with that problem or that issue. Is that something you've had in your mind before? And what do you do to
Yeah.
overcome those moments?
I mean, I still struggle with that
Yeah. Okay.
today. I
Mm,
think. I think a
yeah.
lot of people do, especially women. Um, Starting out, I mean, I was 22, young and dumb and full of confidence. And it was like, why wouldn't somebody hire me?
Yeah.
So I actually more look back and I'm like, how did somebody hire me? I literally had no idea what I was doing. I learned by making multiple mistakes and just kind of taught myself. I had no formal training, no, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild to me that that all worked out. But yeah, I mean, I think social media plays a big role in comparison and,
Hmm.
not necessarily trusting in yourself. But I think for me, anytime I feel imposter syndrome rearing its ugly head, it's like, well, I've made it this far, so I'm
Yeah.
doing something right. And we have all these members that trust in this product that we've built. And so you just kind of have to have faith in like you've done the right thing and
Hmm.
you're a good person and I hope I don't have a lot of bad karma out there, but
Yeah.
I think it is certainly a struggle, but I think the older I get, the less I care.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You seem very positive. Where does that come from?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's like you either laugh or you cry. So I pick to laugh. My family's positive. I don't know. I feel very blessed. I have a really great life and family that I
Yeah.
love. So I feel like the things that I would have to complain about are just kind of trivial in the grand scheme. I have it
Yeah.
pretty good. So
Yeah. That's great. Is your mom still a seamstress? Is she still around and doing her magic?
oh, that's so sweet of you to ask. She sold her company about a
Okay.
year and a half ago, which it has been like the most amazing thing for me because she helps a lot with my kids now.
That's cool. So
But
important.
she,
That's so
my office, the planning office was inside her bridal shop, so I saw
yeah.
her multiple times per day, which was really fun. And I was kind of sad when she retired that that wouldn't happen, but it still does.
Yeah.
But no, she still does, we keep her busy with our own alterations and
Yes.
hemming our kids' pants and things.
That is fantastic. I do lean on my parents or my mom and Angela's mom too to help with that as well. So it's great
Yeah,
having them around in both
I
ways as a seamstress and as well as a childcare. So
Oh, I think it's pretty special. I didn't grow up with any grandparents around just because they were, halfway around the world.
yeah,
So it's pretty special to me that my kids get to have that experience. And for both, like it's fun seeing my parents as grandparents. I think they'd prefer to be grandparents than parents, but everybody's just super happy. So it's really a blessing.
that's great to hear. Cool. Well, we'll sign off. Can you let the listeners know where to find you, both Bridal Bliss and Rock Paper Coin? How can they join your mission and become a
Yeah.
part of it?
For sure. So for Bridal Bliss, find us on Instagram. We're at Bridal Bliss NW. And then Rock Paper Coin, it's just rockpapercoin.com. We're also on Instagram. If you want to give it a try, I'm happy to share my code. It's RPC Nora, and that'll get you a full year free on the platform. And we do free white glove onboarding and migration and everything as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Nora. It's been truly a pleasure and a lot of fun listening and learning about your story.
Well, thanks
Um,
for having me.
of course. All right.